Hello, everyone. My name is Austin Belzer from Austin B Media, and welcome to another interview from South by Southwest 2025. I have the pleasure of talking to the director of Real Faces, Leni Huyghe, and the producer as well, Elisa Heene. Is that is Real Faces was screened during South by Southwest 2025. In fact, later, but you just had, I believe, your final screening a couple days ago. I think a day or two
Yesterday,
ago.
actually.
Just for those who maybe want a brief refresher on what Real Faces is, it follows a casting director named Julia, who's navigating Brussels' competitive advertising scene and finds solace in an unlikely bond with a reclusive microbiologist. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it, especially after what I'm sure is a kind of whirlwind of screenings. I think I saw you had, how many did you have? Like 4 or 6 screenings?
We had 3 times screening at Violet Crown Cinema,
Mhm.
but at the same time you meet so many people, you try to go to their screenings, but then there's also these mixers where you meet other people. And so, yeah, you're running from hotel because Austin's weather is also kind of interesting, different. So in the end, you become a bit,
First I want to ask a little bit about that because you're the first interview I've had that's had its screenings already done or um for South by Southwest, and I'd love to hear kind of about the experience of all those screenings. And you obviously mentioned mixers and things like that. I'd love to hear about that as a director and Elise as a producer. Maybe if you got feedback or anything like that from the screenings.
Yeah, I was very nervous, obviously. I mean, it's the world premiere. In the room, the energy that comes back to you. And I could feel that it was positive also because the people stayed for Q&As, had interesting questions, so we could have an interesting conversation. It became clear that a lot of themes or things I wanted to touch on resonated with the audience. So that for me was a big deal, very big deal. And we felt it throughout all the screenings. So just the festival in general, it's of course great to meet the programmer, to also see how engaged he is, but also other filmmakers like Victoria Verso's Transmemoria we saw, which was a beautiful film as well. So voilà, it's just meeting filmmakers, meeting people in the industry, then enjoying a bit of The Last of Us, and also just how many people...
Oh, you went there?
Yeah. I like the show. I also like how they did the VFX in that show.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow it was a reference for the VFX we did in Real Faces.
Yeah.
With the Lycans intro of
yeah, but then on a different budget.
very different budget, yeah.
HBO has where they're like, yeah, we'll just like comp out this entire city and all that and spend $50 million on CG.
Next time.
Next time.
Without
Especially that people stayed for the Q&As. I feel like, well, especially with festivals, a lot of people tend to go see the movie and kind of just rush off to their next screening. Like, oh, I've got to go see Another Simple Favor, or one of the hundreds of screenings that are going on. I think I saw there are like 508 screenings across like 117 films or something like that, which is nuts. Hear that the feedback has been, positive instead of just like, oh, I just hated this movie.
But no, but we could feel that
Probably not.
really
Yeah.
resonated with the film.
Yeah.
Really got like all the layers of what the film talks about, and were moved by it, and it resonated with them. And they were also laughing, which I was really happy about because the film also has a let's say a very subtle layer of humor in it, with like humor about the human condition or something maybe, or like human interactions. During the screening, I already noticed that people really like connected to it, and they were laughing a lot, and they got this tone. That is,
yeah, that's really interesting to see how people grasp the tone, because it is quite dry and sometimes a bit but I mean the scenes are expanded longly, like everything is pretty precise, and then still that people go along with this it's in between melancholy and lightness and darkness, they come together, and they feel that being, I don't know where it comes from, or the human condition, I don't know. But or the state of the world.
Feel that they connected with that and that they catch up on it or something. Because of course you never know how an audience is going to respond and respond. And it was the first time we showed the film to any audience that is not connected to us.
Yeah.
Bouncing off what Leni said, you talked about the lightness and darkness. The life of Julie is so fast-paced because she works in this advertising industry. And the other character, whose name is escaping me. Sorry, I've only had one cup of coffee this morning. So,
and Julia.
I would love to hear about how you balance those two characters' contrasting environments to serve the narrative.
Julia was first, so she was, of course, obviously based on also experience I had in the audiovisual sector in Belgium, and I think many people in different industries, creative industries, can relate to it. Industries as well, but it's sometimes precarious environments where there's often like this big. Disconnect with your real life, actually your situation, and how you pretend to be, in these network events, or now also when you're suddenly in Austin, you're in this beautiful hotel. Take on a role. No, I'm not going to say that everything is pretense, but there's a lot of like sort of interactions that are sort of that it's sometimes hard to be authentic. Then, because Julia is also so passive and she has this inner world and you don't really know what she's thinking or where she comes from. It was character started to become alive, which was Elliot. And he grew more and more, but he had different jobs. And then when he finally became this microbiologist that studied lichens, it came, of course, the job came from his personality that he had. And this fit his personality really well. They're mirroring each other. She's more outgoing. He's more isolated, and he doesn't mind to be that way, but sometimes he needs more human interaction than to just be on his own. You can feel that both of them are a bit isolated. Just his attention for something completely different, for something that nobody has attention for, I found really important. Another way of looking at the world. And faces and lichens, they're both organisms. You're observing faces on the street. Sometimes you're observing these spots on a tree when you're waiting for the subway, waiting for a bus or something. But I can go on in a monologue that's going to go like this. But okay, I'll stop here.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with if you go on. That makes my job easier because then I don't have to ask so many questions. I can just sit back and listen. But I'd love to hear a little bit about the collaboration process, because I think what between you two, a lot of people don't understand about making a movie is the director and producer kind of go hand in hand with each other, because I don't know, I feel like recently I think a lot of people have kind of confused what a producer does.
So what is it that you do exactly as a producer?
Yeah, like I think I literally saw online like, what, the producer just signs the checks, and I'm like, no, I want to get more producers so we can talk about these things, like what a producer does and how they collaborate with a director. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Floor is yours, Elisa.
Well, I think it's, of course, there's different ways of producing. I think there's different types of producers. For me, the reason why I started producing is because I'm passionate about film. So it's from quite an idealistic place, I think. And the way I choose who I work with or what projects I want to work on or something is very much related to the directors. I think that's what do you call it? Like the first reason to start working on something is who is the director. So it's very much, this collaboration is so intense and very important also to be on the same page and to have the same goals and to be able to really work together and not work against each other, because of course you have the same goal, as in you want to make the best, but sometimes you have different interests, let's say, or different responsibilities in the project. And then I think it's super important to be able to communicate about it, to understand each other, to feel safe, and to trust each other's opinions. And with Leni, this has also always been super easy for me, because I've from the start believed in her as a director, and I trusted her creative decisions, and for me it was really easy to follow her. And of course, sometimes this was not an easy project to to make. So we struggled quite a lot to finance it, and then we also had a small budget to work on. So there were a lot of restraints, let's say, that we had to work within. But somehow I feel like we never, I don't know, there was enough trust between us to go also to do this film with this small budget, because this film was not at all written to have a small budget. And I think you also don't see it in the end, that it's a small budget. But to do that, it's a really big risk as a producer to take. And I never doubted that actually with Leni, because I trust her a lot as a director.
Thank you.
And then talking, we're talking a little bit about challenges. Leni, I'd love to hear about challenges that came up while directing that I feel like everyone asked, but I do think, that there are a lot of challenges that come up with directing. So I'd love to hear about any challenges you came up against, like during filming.
Oh, you mean the screenplay phase? The shoot.
Yeah.
The shoot. No, where to start?
Yeah.
Well, we started, we realizing what the budget was, and then needing to take out a lot of scenes out of the script. So I had to get 20 pages out of the script to at least make it shootable. And then, casting process, it was just very fast, let's say, and there was a lot to be done. You also have to do a lot of stuff yourself. Luckily, we also, what Elisa is also really good in, is finding the right people around the project. So the line producer, Brechtje, she took on a tremendous job as well. But you feel kind of not getting there, of having to relook at the budget and what we can fix a problem or things that we were doing ourselves, or in combination with the location manager that is supposedly there to only do the location managing, who is then also still trying to find other locations.
Also, there's a lot of, I don't know if you realize when you see the film, but there's a lot of locations in this film, and that's one of the reasons why film gets expensive. We didn't have money, so we had to be really, really creative, like finding one location that can offer 2 sets, for example, or these kind of things. That was really, really a challenge.
Luckily, we have a good network to fall back on. Also, friends. For instance, the network reception that we shot, we asked, because we couldn't pay for all the extras and we needed to make it look like it's a real network event. So we asked all our friends in Brussels to come over. And Sarah, she had managed to find sponsoring for drinks. We're really drinking. Normally, extras, they don't drink during the shoots.
Yeah, they were all drunk.
They were all drunk, and so they wouldn't be quiet. So that became, it's kind of funny in hindsight, but in the moment I was really saying to some person that was coming up at the bar, going for another round, I was like, can you please move? Because I have the 2 actors here that are trying to concentrate to say their lines. In all of the shoot, you can feel when there's not enough money that everybody becomes pressurized higher, because to be precise and you want to fulfill the ideas you have in your head, and it's demanded a lot of everyone. And
at the same time, we were super lucky to have such a talented crew on board. I think on all levels, this film really looks like it's been so well done, and it's also, of course, a big shout out to our crew for that. I mean, both for image, sound, but also like set design, costumes. We are getting so many compliments also on
post-production, mixing, sound design. The people that made the music, the soundtrack, everybody gave more than they should have. And maybe you feel it a bit that this is also in the film.
And I think that's a good note there. I think a lot of people, Elise, you were talking about how more locations gets more expensive. Filming something is the reason all these, like, even big budget films will film in, like, say, Atlanta, Georgia, is because there's big tax breaks there that they can be like, okay, we could set up here and just shoot here. The latest, just to give people a reference, No Way Home was not filmed in New York. It was filmed in Atlanta because New York didn't have the tax breaks they wanted. But anyways, that's kind of getting a little inside baseball. I do think that's something that people should know, is that, the more it does get more expensive, because then
more locations, more actors also, and we had both of those, and then we also had a cat. Famous thing to be complicated. It was actually okay, with the cat.
The cat was really not the biggest problem. Cat did great.
But the amount of actors and the amount of locations are 2 factors that really, really weigh on the budget in general, and on the complexity of how you organize the shoot.
But The cat is a good example because, again, the cat is not animal handled.
No.
It's the cat of the line producer. That
she brought her cat to the set and it stayed there a few days.
Yes.
We had fun with the cat.
Yeah. Good to know that the cat did not have a writer of like M&Ms or anything like that. Dead mice or something. Mess up with dead mice. Anyways, I'm getting a little off rails here, but
your imagination is really running on this one.
yeah, talking a little bit about the technical elements, post-production and things like that. Leni, I'd love to hear about your collaboration with with the production team, achieve what we see now at South by Southwest.
Line producer or Elisa also?
Production designers,
really? Okay.
editors, things like that.
They are all in their own rights really creative people that bring their creative game to the film. So I love these discussions with all of them. That's for me the moments where I feel the film starts shining because you finally come from the place of writing it. And then you're really talking textures, colors, characters, how they are, what they would have in their apartment, what they are wearing, how that contributes to the way the film will look. I absolutely love it. And with all departments, it was great. But production design, they were also having a lot of fun because we connected them with lichenologist Dries from the plant center around Brussels and Messe. And he was explaining them about lichens. And so they were looking for species and he knew the places. So that was fun to see how they were sort of getting to know this world through this specialist. I have a long-standing relationship and we're also long-standing friends. I know with him when he comes in the room, we both have this thing that we like to work on set. So we see a location for what it is, so we don't really prepare all the shots in advance, but we try to see how the people are in the room and we work with the camera from there. And he always has a very organic approach to go between the two, between the characters that are there. And so good in capturing the emotional layers of a scene just by moving with the camera.
Yeah.
And then, of course, light is very important, and he sees that very
I think Grim is really an exceptional DOP, actually.
When it comes to production, costume as well, Alex as well. There was a big compliment for her there too, and how she brought a distinctive style to these characters and the way they were dressed. We try to keep it very natural, so to not overstimulate it. Also, the people I wanted to work with ambient music musicians, and we landed with Loïc, who is a French ambient music producer, but he also knows a lot because he's programming music. So he tried to find all the music from people that are in Brussels, always a bit related to the city, with these loops on these old synthesizers. I was there one day when she was working, and she's very fast. And this is the mood. Okay, and then she starts working for a day, repeating and repeating.
Yeah, she did a really, really great job, I think. Yeah. The music really adds depth to certain scenes. Yeah, but I'm happy we ended up putting more music. I thought about it in the screening because at some point there was less. You remember?
I'm sometimes the one that is like taking things out because I think it's too much. For a week with me, there's like softly getting me back into the mood is like, okay, you're right.
The next film, you can make a whole different cut for like the Blu-ray, where it's just like all the ambient music you couldn't put in the movie. YouTube lo-fi beats to whatever to or something like that. But quickly before we go, last question about kind of what the future is for this film. Are you going to any other festivals or shopping it to distributors or things like that?
It was out about South by Southwest. We got a lot of requesting screeners, and we submitted the film to a lot of festivals in the coming months. So I'm sure it's gonna travel, but we don't have anything lined up yet that I can talk about at the moment. And then for the release in Belgium, that will be the first focus, I guess. And since the film is set in the winter time, we are aiming to release this also closer to the end of the year, I think, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to release it in the summer. Organize a premiere probably in Brussels. I think our whole network finds itself.
I really want the people in Brussels, especially the people that worked on it, to see it. And so far, yeah, that's feel a bit guilty about it that it's taking so long. But yeah, it's not in my control fully.
And then internationally, we will of course also look for distribution in all the territories that are interested. Yeah.
Well, if you haven't already gotten an email from Mubi, M-U-B-I, I recommend pitching to them.
Our section.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah, we're going to talk to them.
Perfect fit, especially since they did Crossing last year, which they do a lot of international films. So I really think they'd be a good fit. Thank both of you for taking the time to discuss Real Faces. It was I just really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. Well, not so busy now, but busy in the grand calculus.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it, and I hope wherever this pops up next, that people go out and see it, watch this interview, or read my upcoming review. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Same. You can find me on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads under my username Austin B Media, as well as my Discord and Patreon community chat. Speaking of Patreon, if you'd like early access to this next interview or more exclusive content, head on over to patreon.com/AustinBmedia. For just $3 a month, you get 48-hour early access to my reviews, podcasts, interviews like this one, and articles, plus patron-only channels on my Discord. At the $10 a month tier, you'll unlock uncut podcast episodes, exclusive episodes, and more. If you enjoyed this interview, stay tuned for more South by Southwest 2025 interviews. Until next time.